dirty up the coffee cup. Man, just take a look at that thumbnail. I do good work. Shoot, buddy. Buddy, man, stuff happens behind the scenes. Like, for example, just a moment ago after I hit the intro, I stepped on the cord and snatched my own headphones off. How we doing this morning? Good to see everybody in there. I see Danny's got first blood. I know there may have been some of you that commented before we were actually live. You don't count. I don't get to see you. YouTube hides that from me. Now, good morning. So, this morning, I'm going to talk about something that I kind of do and don't want to talk about. I'm going to talk about the the absolutely fake controversy surrounding the new Harry Potter game. So we've got this new Harry Potter game. I'm gonna let the audio run, but I'm gonna turn it down a bit. This game is called Hogwarts Legacy, and I'll grant it looks beautiful. The game itself looks absolutely beautiful. This is the trailer that's running on Steam. Steam is a video game platform that you buy downloadable games from, and hey, full confession, I play a game or two, and I have bought a bunch of games on Steam because they run these ridiculous sales where it's like, oh, it's 90% off. I'm like, yes, I'll give you $5 for the $60 game that I am interested in playing. And I mean, guys, you watch the show, you know me. I'm a big old nerd. Right, I got my first degree in cryptologic lexicography, a subject so complex I could barely even pronounce it myself. But big old nerd, and I absolutely read the Harry Potter books. When the books came out, they were targeted at something below my age group, and the controversy that surrounded them then was from the complete opposite political side. But it's important to understand that was moral panic bullshit then. It's moral panic bullshit now. And I'll give it to J.K. Rowling. She is brilliant. That is not a commentary on her moral quality, on whether or not she has positive moral value as a person. And I'm going to get into that because that is the conversation that's being had around the game. The game is due to release in 3 days? Yeah, February 10th. And right now it is the highest selling game on the Steam platform. The game is $60 or $70 for the deluxe version. It's the highest selling game on the platform, and it's still in pre-purchase, right? The game's not even actually for sale yet. I mean, it is, but you can't play it until, Thursday? Friday. But the game is going absolutely gangbusters on sales, despite an attempt by the ravening leftists to destroy the game. So let me back you up a little bit, give you a little bit of a history lesson. I was about 17 or 18, I think, when the books came out, and the first novel was targeted to 10, 11, 12-year-olds, 10 or 11-year-olds, right? I think in the first book, Harry he has his 11th birthday in the first book. And that's when he gets the invitation and acceptance letter to go to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And in the 90s, when these books came out, the immediate response, there was this knee-jerk moral panic. Oh, these books are about witchcraft. Burn them! Burn them all! And that was one of the best things. I would love for a large political organization to demand my death. You just can't beat that for sales. Right? The first book was good, but it wasn't anything super special in the world of fantasy literature. I can think of several titles off the top of my head, like the Name of the Wind, for example. Far better book, far better story, far more interesting and compelling characters. But Harry Potter got the nod for early cancel culture from moral panic. And full disclosure, full fairness, the moral panic then was the censorious religious right, and they were wrong to be panicked. They were absolutely wrong to be panicked. The first book, the series, does not, it doesn't talk about, these kids aren't practicing witchcraft right? They use the word witchcraft in there, but they're not practicing witchcraft. They live in a world where magic is a thing. And magic in a fantasy world, in a fictional story, is not the same as witchcraft. It is not the same as a nature-based religion. It is not the same as the Levaic Church of Satan and with the use of sex magic and the worship of self. It is not the same. We're talking about kids at a boarding school who go home to celebrate Christmas with their families. And the kids that don't get to go home because, for whatever reason, some kids stay at the boarding school in the real world and in the fantasy world over the Christmas holiday, and they celebrate Christmas, right? They have the traditional Christian morals and values as part of their education. Rowling even goes on in one of the later books to put this woman in charge of the school, and it's been a long time since I read them or watched the movies. I can't remember the woman's name, but she was the obnoxiously pink chick in the movie she was in. But she even goes so far as to criticize the moral panic and the idea of centralized censorship in one of her books, with this woman that has a magic pen, and she makes the students, write lines. I will not lie, I will not lie, I will not lie. And every time they write the line, it cuts into their skin. And she wrote that before all this TERF crap. So let's get back to the reason that the game is drawing criticism. Basically, back a couple years ago, about 2 years ago, I want to say, J.K. Rowling made a tweet about women sports. She made the argument, she essentially said, there is a difference between men and women. She had the unmitigated temerity to make the argument that men and women are not the same thing. Right? She said nothing more controversial than boys have a penis and girls have a vagina. Now, in the context then, what she was talking about was the whole issue of transgenders in women's sports. There is a reason that you do not hear controversy around the existence of transgenders in men's sports. And it is this: women's sports actually have it in the rules that you must be a woman to participate. And there's a very good reason for this. Because there are no men's sports. The NFL is not a men's football league. The NBA is not a men's basketball association. Right? The MLB is not a men's baseball group. There are no rules that say women cannot play. Except for one. And that is called the basic law of biology. Because they are meritoriously sourced programs where, in order to get selected to a team, in order to get hired for the job of playing a professional sport, you have to compete against other players. When the competition is how hard can you swing a bat, how fast can you run, how far can you throw a ball, we're not talking about whether or not a woman can beat a man. We're talking about at the ends of the bell curve, there are no women at the extreme end of the bell curve that are more physically fit and capable of throwing the ball, hitting the ball, running the bases, sprinting down the field. The fastest woman is not as fast as the fastest man. The strongest woman is not as strong as the strongest man. Yes, there are weak men and there are strong women. There are not strongest women who are stronger than strongest men. There are not largest women that are larger than largest man. Outside of maybe the 600-pound life chick, and let's be real, she ain't running in bases. And she sure as hell isn't out swimming the other boys on the team. So for no statement more controversial than boys have a penis and girls have a vagina, it is that simple. At the extremes of the bell curve, women cannot compete with men physically. That is reality, 100%. And that's why there are women's sports teams where the rule says only women can compete. Because if men get to compete for the positions in the women's sports teams, then there are no women's sports. Period. The evidence of that is plain as the extreme number of headlines we've seen over the last several years with men dressed as women breaking strongman records, out swimming entire teams of collegiate swimmers, etc., etc. And in each case, what you find is a man who is, by comparison to his peers, mediocre at the sport at best, being record-shatteringly above and beyond the competitive level of the women that he competes with. These are low-quality human beings. These are people who are cheating. So, because she said boys have a penis and girls have a vagina, Rowling has been theoretically canceled by these lefties, who, in theory, were her greatest supporters. Because let's not get confused here. J.K. Rowling is absolutely a lefty, right? You'll remember well after the books were published, but before they started making the movies, and I suspect that it was because they were going to start making the movies. She came out and told the world that, Dumbledore, the main chief wizard, right, the Merlin clone, is gay. She made it a point to come out and tell us, here's a sign of how far the world has come. Some fans are upset that Fantastic Beasts 2 is not going to let Dumbledore be openly gay. In fact, in The Crimes of Grindelwald, they did. I haven't seen The Crimes of Grindelwald. The first Fantastic Beasts was actually a pretty good flick. It was cute. It was fun. They hinted at the gay thing a little bit in there, and that was obnoxious because it was unnecessary. But the entire book series of Harry Potter was published, and not once in the series was it ever hinted that Dumbledore even had a sexuality. It talked about some long-lost friends, but I don't remember it talking about Dumbledore's ex-wife or ex-girlfriend or long-lost love or any of that. You very much get the impression that Dumbledore, in his youth, was a bit of a troublemaker, but the kind of troublemaker that's also an irredeemable bookworm, right? Like, the guy was dedicated to his craft. He was dedicated to the study of magic and the pursuit of sort of ethereal academia. You very much get the sense that he's an old scholar that had a bit of a wild streak in his youth, but it was more about making trouble and upsetting apple carts within the academic and political community. It doesn't seem to suggest anywhere in the books that Dumbledore was gay. But she came out later and said, "Oh no, I definitely always thought of Dumbledore as gay." No, you didn't. You didn't. You're lying, Rowling. You lied. I know that because you would have put it in the book. You would have written it. You would have at least dropped a thinly veiled euphemism to support that claim. So now that the game is coming out, you've got all these people on Twitter, and God, the threads on Twitter. This one's riffing on it. Breaking. The upcoming Harry Potter universe game, Hogwarts Legacy, will introduce the franchise's first ever openly game character named Homie McSexual. And Ven, I read your tweet out loud on the air, so I'll throw you a like there. When you beat Hogwarts Legacy, it takes you back to the character creator and lets you pick if your character was gay. I'll throw you a like on that one, Soul Nate. And that's actually a pretty clever referential joke, because that's what J.K. Rowling did. Is she went back in an interview and basically retconned gayness into old Dumbledore, because
You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked? Funny, just this once, you're correct.
That guy. Just injecting queerness, as they say at Disney. So, and then here's the final point that I kind of want to make. The Act Man. There we go. Yeah. He says, if you buy Hogwarts Legacy or like Harry Potter, you're automatically a transphobe. That's like saying if you've ever played a Blizzard game, you're automatically a fan of sexual harassment. Where Tango Foxtrot do people come up with these scarlet brain with these scarlet brain rot takes? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing the screen with you. Yeah. So anyway, that's what he said, and I agree. And I'm not going to get into the utter psychopathy of the use of the term phobe, the use of the suffix phobe. But that's kind of where we are. So, guys, if you've got kids that want to play the game, or if you're a big nerd and you want to play the game and you think it's worth $60, whew, y'all do y'all, right? We're probably not going to buy this game in my house just because it's $60 that I can think of better things to do with. But we'll see what happens. I do have a 12-year-old daughter that is a huge fan of the Harry Potter series, right? And so who knows? My kids don't play a lot of video games, but it is what it is. As far as boycotting things because you don't believe in something, or you disagree with somebody, here's the quandary. Here's the problem that we have on the right, especially. The lefties will boycott anything and everything over anything and nothing. 사과합니다. 특무 상사님은 이렇게 다 적은데요. Sergeant Major asks if I'm speaking English. Here, the left will boycott anything and everything over everything and nothing. The fact of the matter is, if you boycott every entertainment producer that you cannot agree with politically, then if you are a decent person, you're going to get bored. Deeply and painfully bored. Now, that said, we are working to produce entertaining content, hopefully to replace some of the trash. But to be clear, I want to be clear on this. I like Harry Potter. I enjoyed those books when I was a kid. I really did. Like I said, they came out targeted at an age group younger than me. They weren't up to the level that I'm accustomed to reading. I finished most of them in a single sitting. I mean, there's not much to them. They're cute little pseudo mystery fantasy stories. I think the thickest one was 750 pages. You know, it took me a couple of hours and a half, a pack of cigarettes, and a few cups of coffee. I very much enjoyed all the books. I mostly enjoyed the movies. Some of them got a little weird and campy and took some liberties from the source material that were confusing, but altogether good material. Fun. Right? And generally wholesome. All the TERF crap. I don't know if I explained. For anyone who doesn't understand what TERF is, it means trans exclusionary radical feminist. J.K. Rowling is a radical, pro-abortion, pro-LGBTQ, no T, apparently, feminist, radical feminist, that believes that transgenders kind of break the lefty narrative, right? And that can be its own whole conversation. But essentially, she was a darling of the left woke cult until she refused to go any further down the socialist rabbit hole of child mutilation and men in dresses lifting heavy weights. So if you want to buy the game, please do. If you don't want to buy the game, that's not a political statement. Buying the game does not necessarily need to be a political statement. And if you buy the game or don't buy the game by way of making a political statement, you're not making much of one. So I got to put a pin in it there. I've got work to do. I love you guys. Thanks for watching, and we will see you tomorrow.